What would you do if, on the happiest night of your life, a stranger walked through the door and destroyed everything you thought was true? Maya had waited 25 years for this birthday. Not in a dramatic way, just in the quiet, hopeful way people do when they believe life is finally clicking into place. The restaurant was warm, candles everywhere, the smell of garlic bread and expensive wine. Her mom, Diane, was already standing with a champagne flute raised, her cheeks flushed pink, her smile so wide it looked like it might crack her face open. Her dad, Robert, was mid-punchline on a joke nobody asked for, but everyone was laughing at anyway. Her best friend Cleo was already dabbing her eyes because Cleo cried at everything: birthday cards, insurance commercials, the national anthem at minor league baseball games. Everything was perfect, almost too perfect. And here's the thing about perfect moments: sometimes the universe has other plans. Before we continue with this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Because somewhere between the toast and the cake, between the laughter and the clinking glasses, a door opened. And the man who walked in wasn't a waiter. He wasn't a guest. He was calm, deliberate, and he was scanning the room like he was looking for someone specific. He was looking for me. He wasn't threatening. He wasn't loud. He was worse, he was calm. That is the detail that stayed with Maya long after everything else happened. Not the box. Not the photograph. Not even the words. It was the way Edmund walked into that room like he had been rehearsing this moment for years. Because, as it turned out, he had. He was mid-60s, silver-haired, wearing a long charcoal coat that looked like it had seen a few too many airports. He stood at the entrance of the private dining room for just a moment, long enough for the conversation to die, long enough for Robert to look up from his joke, long enough for Diane to stop mid-sip. And then Edmund's eyes moved slowly around the table until they landed on Maya. He did not look surprised to find her there. He looked relieved. Robert was on his feet first, protective, confused, doing that thing fathers do when they insert their body between their family and anything unfamiliar. He asked if Edmund had the right room. Edmund ignored the question entirely, which is somehow more unsettling than any argument could have been. He looked past Robert like he wasn't there, and he said Maya's full name.
First, middle, last.
Maya Elise Carver. The middle name stopped everyone cold. It wasn't on social media. It wasn't on anything public. Cleo froze mid-sip, glass still touching her lips. And Diane went very still in a way Maya had never seen before. Not frightened. Frozen. Like someone who just heard a song they had spent years trying to forget. Edmund reached into his coat pocket and set a small wooden box on the table directly in front of Maya. Robert said, "Do not touch it." But Maya already was. Inside the box was a necklace. Gold. Delicate. The kind of thing that does not come from a department store, the kind that gets wrapped in tissue paper and passed from one set of hands to another across generations. And underneath the necklace, folded once, was a photograph. That photograph would break something in Maya that could never fully be repaired. She picked it up slowly. A woman, late 20s, dark hair falling past her shoulders, caught mid-laugh in the way candid photos sometimes do, completely unguarded, completely real. And the face. Maya studied the face.
Same jaw.
Same eyes. Same slight asymmetry in the smile that Maya had been self-conscious about since middle school, the one Cleo always told her made her look interesting instead of imperfect. Maya laughed. Actually laughed. A nervous, relieved little laugh. Because her first thought, her honest, genuine first thought, was that this was an old photo of Diane. Some throwback, some sentimental surprise tucked into a birthday gift from a stranger who must have coordinated with her parents. She held it up and said, "Mom, is this you?" Diane did not answer. That is when Maya felt it. That cold, specific silence that is not the absence of sound but the presence of something nobody wants to say out loud. Diane was looking at Robert. Robert was looking at Edmund. Edmund was looking at Maya with an expression she would spend months trying to describe afterward. Grief. She finally decided, dressed up as courage. Cleo leaned over, squinted at the photograph, and whispered, "That is not Diane." Half a second of almost comedy. And then the weight of it came crashing back down like a wave that had been building for 25 years. Maya looked at the photo again, then at Diane, then back at the photo. The resemblance was not coincidental. It was not a family resemblance, not a passing similarity, not one of those things you see if you squint. It was biological. It was undeniable. And somewhere in the room, a candle flickered like even the atmosphere understood what was about to happen. Edmund leaned across the table, close enough that only Maya could hear, and whispered four words that rewrote her entire life. 4 words. That is all it took. 4 words to make 25 years feel like a beautiful, elaborate lie. She's your real mother. Maya did not cry. Not immediately. She laughed again, that same nervous, broken laugh from before, because that is what people do when reality fractures. The brain cannot process certain things head-on, so it deflects. It jokes. It buys itself a few extra seconds before the truth fully lands. And then it landed. Diane said Maya's name. Just her name, nothing else. But the voice was different. Cracked open in a way Maya had never heard in 25 years of sick days and arguments and late-night conversations at the kitchen table. It was the voice of someone who had been carrying a secret so long it had become part of their skeleton, and now, without warning, someone had reached in and pulled it out. Edmund spoke carefully, quietly, the way people do when they have rehearsed something painful enough times that they have sanded down all the sharp edges. He explained that the woman in the photograph was named Lena, his daughter. That Lena was 22 years old, completely alone, and terrified when Maya was born. That an arrangement was made, the kind of arrangement that gets handled in hushed tones and signed papers and mutual agreements to never speak of it again. He was clear about one thing. Diane and Robert were not villains in this story, but they were not innocent either. And here's the part that stopped Maya completely, stopped the whole table, stopped Cleo's quiet sniffling, stopped everything. Edmund looked at Maya and said, "She wanted to come tonight. She has been watching your life for 25 years, waiting for the right moment." And then he paused, just long enough for the weight of it to settle. "She's outside." The woman who gave Maya life, who held her for what must have been the most devastating few hours imaginable before letting her go, who apparently knew about every birthday before this one and stayed away anyway. She was standing on the sidewalk outside a restaurant, in the cold, too afraid to walk through a door. Maya stood up, and nobody tried to stop her. There is no word for meeting someone for the first time who already knows everything about you. It is not a reunion. It is not an introduction. It sits somewhere in between, in territory that language has not caught up to yet. Maya pushed through the restaurant door, and the cold air hit her immediately. Sharp. Real. The kind of cold that reminds you that you are a body standing in the world, and whatever just happened inside that building actually happened. And there she was. Lena. Older than the photograph, the way everyone is older than their photographs. But unmistakably, undeniably, the same woman.
Same jaw.
Same dark hair, shorter now, tucked behind one ear. Same slight asymmetry in the smile, except Lena was not smiling. She was standing about 6 feet away, arms crossed not in defiance, but in the way people hold themselves together when they are afraid they might come apart. She was shaking. Slightly. Barely. But Maya noticed. Maya was weirdly calm. She could not explain it then, and she still cannot explain it now. Maybe the body only has so much room for shock in a single evening, and she had hit the limit somewhere around the photograph. They stood there 6 feet apart in silence for what felt like a full minute but was probably closer to 10 seconds. Neither of them knew who was supposed to speak first. There is no etiquette for this. No greeting card that covers it. Then Lena said, "I did not want to ruin your birthday." And Maya laughed. Again. That same laugh, disbelieving, uncontrolled, almost inappropriate. Because what else do you do when the woman who gave birth to you apologizes for the timing? But here is the thing that hit Maya hardest in that moment, standing on that sidewalk. It was not anger. It was not grief. It was a sudden, overwhelming thought about Diane. About 25 years of school pickups and spelling tests and arguments over curfew and Sunday morning pancakes and every single ordinary moment that builds a person without them even realizing it. About what the word mother actually means when you strip away biology and get down to the bone. Lena held out her hand. Open. Waiting. not demanding anything, just offering. And Maya had to make a choice nobody should ever have to make on their birthday. Here is what Edmund told Maya later about the necklace. Lena had clasped it around her own neck the morning Maya was born. A small ritual, something private, something that belonged only to her. And on the day she signed the papers and let Maya go, she took it off. She folded it into that little wooden box and kept it for 25 years. Through every birthday she watched from a distance. Through every milestone she was not allowed to be part of. Through every moment she chose silence because she believed, genuinely believed, that staying away was the most loving thing she could do. Tonight was the first time she had let it go. Think about that for a second. 25 years of carrying something you cannot put down and cannot show anyone. That is not a secret. That is a second life lived entirely in private. Maya did not walk away from Diane. She did not choose Lena over the woman who raised her, or Diane over the woman who gave her life. That is the part people always want, the clean break, the dramatic door slam, the tidy resolution. Real life almost never gives you that. What Maya chose instead was something messier and harder and far more human. She chose honesty. She went back inside that restaurant, sat down at that birthday table, and started the most difficult conversation of her life with the two people she had called her parents for 25 years. It did not go perfectly. It is still not perfect, but it is real now in a way it was not before. And the necklace. Lena clasped it around Maya's neck on that sidewalk before Maya went back inside. Maya wore it for the rest of the night. She is still wearing it. Family is not always the people who share your DNA, but sometimes it is worth knowing who does. If this story hit you somewhere unexpected, share it with someone who gets it. And drop in the comments, would you have walked outside? Would you have taken Lena's hand? Because honestly, I am not sure what the right answer is. I am not sure there is one. Subscribe because the next story we are telling is just as complicated, just as real, and somehow even harder to look away from. Happy birthday, Maya. What a way to turn 25.